Next question is, this question is a part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solutions, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. You have an Azure environment. You need to create a new Azure virtual machine from a tablet that runs the Android operating system. Solution: you use Bash in Azure Cloud Shell. Does this meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Correct answer is option A, yes. Next question is, your company plans to move several servers to Azure. The company's compliance policy stated that a server named FinServer must be on a separate network segment. You are evaluating which Azure services can be used to meet the compliance policy requirements. Which Azure solution should you recommend? Option A resource group for FinServer and another resource group for all the other servers. Option B, a virtual network for FinServer and another virtual network for all the servers. Option C, a VPN for FinServer and a virtual network gateway for each other server. Option D, one resource group for all the servers and a resource lock for FinServer. Correct answer is option B, a virtual network for FinServer and another virtual network for all the other servers. Next question is, you plan to map a network drive from several computers that run Windows 10 to Azure storage. You need to create a storage solution in Azure for the planned mapped drive. What should you create? Option A, an Azure SQL database. Option B, a virtual machine data disk. Option C, a file service in a storage account. Option D, a blob service in a storage account. Correct answer is option C, a file service in a storage account. Next question is, your company plans to migrate all its network resources to Azure. You need to start the planning process by exploring Azure. What should you create first? Option A, a subscription. Option B, a resource group. Option C, a virtual network. Option D, a management group. Correct answer is option a subscription. Next question is, you have an on-premises application that sends email notifications automatically based on a rule. You plan to migrate the application to Azure. You need to recommend a serviceless computing solution for the application. What should you include in the recommendation? Option a web app. Option B, a server image in Azure Marketplace. Option C, a logic app. Option D, an API app. Correct answer is option C, a logic app. Next question is, you plan to deploy a website to Azure. The website will be accessed by users worldwide and will host large video files. You need to recommend which Azure feature must be used to provide the best video playback experience. What should you recommend? Option A, an application gateway. Option B, an Azure Express root circuit. Option C, a content delivery network CDN. Option D, an Azure Traffic Manager profile. Correct answer is option C, a content delivery network CDN. Next question is, your company plans to deploy several million sensors that will upload data to Azure. You need to identify which Azure resources must be created to support the planned solution. Which two Azure resources should you identify? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Option A, Azure Data Lake. Option B, Azure Queue Storage. Option C, Azure File Storage. Option D, Azure IoT Hub. Option E, Azure Notification Hubs. Correct answer is option A and option D, Azure Data Lake and Azure IoT Hub. Next question is, you have an Azure web app. You need to manage the settings of the web app from an iPhone. What are two Azure management tools that you can use? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Option A, Azure CLI. Option B, the Azure portal. Option C, Azure Cloud Shell. Option D, Windows PowerShell. Option E, Azure Storage Explorer. Correct answer is option B and option C, Azure CLI and Azure Cloud Shell. Next question is, this question requires that you evaluate the underlying text to determine if it is correct. You have an application that is comprised of an Azure web app that has a service legal agreement SLA of 99.95% and an Azure SQL database that has an SLA of 99.99%. The composite SLA for the application is the product of both SLAs, which equals 99.94%. Instructions: review the underlined text. If it makes the statement correct, select no change is required. Otherwise, select other options. Option A, no change is needed. Option B, the lowest SLS associated to the application, which is 99.95%. Option C, the highest SLA associated to the application, which is 99.99%. Option D, the difference between the two SLAs, which is 0.05%. Correct answer is option A, no change is needed. Next question is, your company plans to deploy an artificial intelligence AI solution in Azure. What should the company use to build, test, and deploy predictive analytics solutions? Option A, Azure Logic Apps. Option B, Azure Machine Learning Studio. Option C, Azure Batch. Option D, Azure Cosmos DB. Correct answer is option B, Azure Machine Learning Studio.